It's a really weird thing. You know, we make video games, we make these virtual experiences for the purpose of enjoying them. And if you've watched the channel, you know one of my favorite genres is the role playing game. Now, it isn't just role playing games in which we have choices and consequences. I think it is very interesting that there's a topic, an aspect of this. We even have memes to support what I'm talking about. When we are faced with a choice between good and evil, or mean or nice, most people, unless someone has already decided that they want to choose evil, most people will actually choose good. And I think that's great. But there are situations when a player will decide, either on a whim or very purposefully, that they are going to make a bad decision, that they are going to be a bad person in game, that they will choose evil. Hey, I'm Jeff the Narrator, and in today's talk we're going to discuss choosing good and a look at morality in gaming. Now, choosing to be bad or evil obviously does not inherently mean that you yourself, the player, are bad and or evil. But you are engaging with that fantasy, that hypothetical little situation of what might possibly happen if you were to choose to indulge the darker reactions of your nature or to condone darker deeds in a given situation. There is a meme that I really love. It's of an older cowboy holding a revolver, closing his eyes and not looking where he's aiming. And he shoots the revolver, and the caption normally reads, "Me." And then over top of the revolver, mean dialogue options in RPGs. People react as if they had actually done something wrong. I have had several different role plays on the channel. Fallout 3 and New Vegas now with the character Henry. Fallout New Vegas again with Sam. Now both of them were very morally good. Similarly, Ryan, the human fighter from Baldur's Gate 3, and Garen Starr from KOTOR, and my hero from Fable Anniversary, Saber, they were all almost comically good because that is what I decided to do. And I've talked about subverting that morality before in my escapism essay. I'll pin it here. So I know that I'm not just locked into it because I'm a good person. I am a Christian. The moral good is required not only by my faith, but a foundational point of my upbringing. I am, quote unquote, a good person. However, video games offer a unique opportunity to delve into the alternative. And what do I do when I premeditatively decide to be an absolute bad person? See, I even censored myself just now. I wanted to say an absolute bastard, but I thought better of it. So what happens when we decide we are going to do something bad, to be evil, to not be good when we interact in these narrative experiences? Well, something interesting ends up happening actually, I think. Similarly to how an actor will ease themselves into a challenging role, a player will often ease themselves into that unique form of escapism. Escapism specifically of your moral sensibility. And I really think it's fascinating. Believe it or not, I wish I could do more of it actually. Now, on the channel I can't just start and stop series all the time. And there have actually been times I've wanted to sit down and record an evil or a bad version of one of my Let's Plays. Now, let's just say it for what it is. There is something very satisfying about disengaging with morality. To let yourself loose. Off the leash. And I wonder where it comes from. You know, the audience is clearly there because someone thought to monetize it by making it into an option for a product. I mean, choice and consequence. You're not always going to be the morally correct person in life or exist on the moral high ground. And in a game, that can be attractive. Equally attractive is a sort of gauging tool of the morality scale. You know, you can look at a menu and it says, are you good or are you evil? You see that not just in video games, but actually the alignment chart from Dungeons & Dragons often comes to mind. And you get the different alignment memes like the Pirates of the Caribbean. In my opinion, Jack Sparrow is a true neutral character in Curse of the Black Pearl. Now, it can be argued that by the end of the franchise he's more chaotic good, but is true neutral probably leaning on chaotic neutral? And then you can look at Will Turner, more chaotic good, but initially lawful good for his faith in the law. His faith is unfounded in that, and it's only in his journey away from typical society that his viewpoint shifts. And then we have James Norrington. He begins the story as a very lawful good person, maybe a little bit too lawful, transitioning to maybe neutral good, given the fact that he gives Jack that head start at the end of the first film. So, morality can exist on a few contextual spectrums. Let's dial in a little bit and focus on the evil. It's a little bit harder to define than you think. You know, I mean, what is lawful evil? Lawful evil is actually very hard to nail down in pop culture, because our society typically shows virtue for adhering to the law. And that isn't always very true, is it? Let's go historically first, and then we can work our way from that and go back to fiction where I like to spend time. So lawful evil, you know, what is the most lawful evil that you could imagine? I mean, probably the commandants and operational staff of the Nazis in the concentration camps during World War II. Auschwitz. They are following the law and designs of their Führer, but is in great opposition to the very standard good in the world, you know, the good standard, the common good. So what would fictional lawful evil be? It's kind of hard to think about because lawful, neutral, and chaotic morality is very much up to interpretation. Knee-jerk reaction would be, you know, the Galactic Empire from Star Wars. But let's also take a look at this. Lawful evil may be Javert, because of his coldness to that of the common people and those he deems as scum. But even there, is Javert evil, or is he just too consumed by his ideals of the law that he falls into this gray apathy area? Well, let's go back to gaming then, because it's a little bit easier for me. You can gamify morality. Evil would be joining the Dark Brotherhood in any of the Elder Scrolls games. A YouTuber that inspires me constantly is Gopher, and in a video that I can actually no longer find from around 2012, he clearly stated that a sentiment that sort of goes around like this. If you decide to join the Dark Brotherhood, you are not a good person. You aren't a hero who made a mistake. You are, subjectively, a bad person. And even with the Thieves Guild, you could Robin Hood your way across the game. That's not really the case with the Dark Brotherhood. I'll link over to Gopher's channel because he's a fantastic Let's Player and he has great commentary on gaming and morality. Similarly to the Dark Brotherhood, if you destroy Megaton City in Fallout 3, you are evil. Or at least, you are incredibly capable of great evil. And there is no good reason to detonate that bomb whatsoever, and I can count at least 2 children that are just wiped off the map. Evil, in Darth Maul's words, taking from Star Wars again, is... it's from the Clone Wars show, Sam Witwer did fantastic. He's explaining to his brother Savage. He says something to the effect of, "In a galaxy at war, there's only one way to garner the attention of the Jedi: the indiscriminate slaughter of the innocent. But to be a person who is completely defined by that evil is very hard. But to become the epitome of evil, it's difficult to see a mortal do that. Even I don't think that Maul is completely evil. However, it's very easy to look at an entity or a deity or a demon and make an assumption that they are all evil or are defined by it, because an entity can do that. It's not normal. You can look at it in a very non-personable way, but when you look at a person who is similarly consumed by the aspect of a morality, the Paladin effect, but switched, you come off as one note. If I just decided to objectively do the right thing or the wrong thing just for the sake of doing one or the other, unfortunately it feels flat. It feels one note. Personal critique is, I think, that Saber from Fable and even Garen Starr from Knights of the Old Republic, they just do the right thing all the time. And I decided to be morally good in Fable. I decided to be on the light side in KOTOR. But it feels very flat. Now, if I overcome my nature in spite of what I want for the moral good, that is a bit more dynamic. Though, also, sometimes it just doesn't make sense. Let's go back to Fable. When my hero, Saber, defeats Jack at the end in the guild hall, there is a choice to be made that is almost just cartoonishly evil. Teresa comes to her brother and says, "That's right, little brother. Now comes the great decision I spoke of so long ago. Now you must choose. Ultimate power and the Sword of Aeons. You'll be as great and as terrible as Jack always wanted to be. Or you can cast the sword into the vortex and banish it forever. If you choose power, the only thing you must do is kill me to get that power, brother." Let's be real. The kind of person who would actually do that is just so ridiculously evil. It's bad because they have decided that they will be that evil. I mean, you can even justify it very weakly. Like, I'm so damaged by the world and my experiences that I need the power as a deterrent. But it is the decision. I mean, there are hundreds. There are probably 100 reasons not to make this particular evil decision in this moment. There are maybe 5 to make the evil decision to kill Teresa and claim the sword. Let's fast forward, though, to a similar situation at the end of the Lost Chapters DLC. We have defeated Jack the dragon and need to destroy his soul mask to end his threat of coming back to the world forever. Or we can put on the mask and absorb his power. And again, there are about 101 reasons to not make that decision. I mean, there are maybe 3 to put the mask on, but I mean, you are going to lose yourself. It is a soul mask. You're likely going to need to fight for control, deal with that wrestling of who you are up to this point versus the absolute deity level soul that is Jack of Blades. I mean, a morally good person who already casts the Sword of Aeons aside wouldn't put on the mask. It is, however, more likely that if you already killed Teresa, that you are probably going to be more than likely incentivized to put the mask on. I mean, it's an RPG. The game is meant to be replayed in that way. But a regular person, most of the time, just wouldn't do that. And you know what they say about power? Power corrupts. Absolute power corrupts absolutely. And I'm sure there is someone who would do it in a real situation. And let's be honest, there is kind of a disconnect there when you're playing a game. We know we're playing a game. We know we aren't actually going to get the benefit from doing the wrong thing. And I think that in a boots on the ground situation, it might be darkly a little bit more plausible. Teresa is your sister, but in the grand scheme of things, is a person you knew all up until the ripe age of 10, maybe 9, and then vanished while you struggled and became a hero. She is just simply not the same sister that you once knew. She is a blind, tortured, damaged, vicious seer. The girl you knew is effectively gone, and what has replaced her is someone that is dangerous. I mean, after all you see and lose throughout the course of the first Fable game, the power to make sure you were never at a disadvantage again, you would have to have become a completely different person from who that little kid was when they survived Oakvale. Now, whereas a heroic person would use that tragedy to propel themselves forward, an evil person uses that tragedy as a license to do evil, and even that statement cannot be absolute. And that's such a weird thing when you talk about morality. There is no good reason to be evil, but there is no bad reason to do good. Because the taint of an evil act will turn any good thing you do into an evil one. Or at the very least, it becomes a manipulation or a deception. However, you can't turn an evil act to good. A good person doing bad things is seen as dynamic, but a bad person acting good is just a bad person who is being manipulative. Which is interesting. Actually, a tabletop that deals with this in absolute terms is Vampire the Masquerade. One of your main goals is to hold on to your humanity so that you don't lose your mind to the beast. And, of course, to live as long as possible. But make no mistake, you are a monster because you're dead. Your soul is damned. And even if you do good, you are still a monster by nature, and somehow that seems less bad in my mind than someone who has chosen to let evil be their nature. Most people who play a choice-based game will lean toward doing good. And I think, unless you have decided to be bad, or have decided to relax your morals for, an experiment, that is most people. Most people are good. I think there's a country song about that. But I think there is a level of premeditation that you develop while living your life against doing evil unless you are completely acting on instinct. I think that morality exists in the mental pause before a decision is made. Because there is a difference. In Fallout 4, and I tell this story in my escapism video, I made the decision to kill the old man in the Institute. We know this is Sean. Because at the time I didn't actually know that this was Sean, and I thought they were lying to me, and out of impulse I decided to end a threat. If I had paused to reflect, to think, would it have still been a mistake, an impulse, or would it have been a morally evil act? Would it be premeditated? Would it have been a decision? Was it murder rather than manslaughter? Now, pauses for morality are not justifiable for flying off the handle or acting on impulse. I clearly did a bad thing. I killed someone. Shooting Sean, it's still a bad decision. But we look at flexible morality as dynamic. We look at it as interesting. The anti-hero is one of the most popular modern tropes in fiction. It's because we love to flirt with evil, even if we are uncomfortable becoming fully immersed in it. And then someone who is submerged in this evil, who is defined by it, I won't say they don't exist, but they are rare. And while they're rare, they're also incredibly potent. And it seems like we get a new twist on the anti-hero or the rogue with just a glint of light, and it helps us justify evil as a concept because it makes us more interesting. While it is true that we want to believe that everyone can come back, we also have to realize that anyone who is gone can choose to stay gone. And very few people were ever absolutely evil from birth to death. So maybe that is why we choose good. Maybe people are good at their core. Maybe it's because we have consciousness and discernment. Now that would be an interesting twist on this video. A video on choosing evil and what that means, what it can tell us about who we are, and let us safely engage with such a decision. Thank you so much for tuning into today's video essay, our little talk. If you liked the video, go ahead and let me know by pressing the like button and comment down below. Do you always choose good? Or do you typically get it out of your system whenever you play a new game and just make bad decisions? Maybe you just act on a whim. I wish I could do that. Let me know. Subscribe if you like talks like this, and ring the bell so you never miss an upload. I don't know when this will go up because recently I've discovered that I may be in something that Reddit calls the zero view jail. I guess I upload too much, so I'm going to be spacing these out. I don't know when this will go live. It's about the end of April right now. But thank you so much for tuning in today. I hope you're having a great day, and as always, choose good and keep telling stories.